The movies. The ability to move millions of people in their seat to take them to places they've never been before. Dazzling images on a huge silver screen, sound that I can feel. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place. Wait, what am I reading exactly? Oh, hey. It's been an interesting year for movies. I think the impacts of the dual strikes from 2023 can definitely have been felt throughout the entirety of this year. And while I personally may not feel that the year overall may have been the strongest from what I've seen, that does not negate some of the impact that some of these movies have made, and some of which have been absolute bangers. But let me address a few things first. One, as of this recording, I have seen 148 movies that qualify as a 2024 release. Now that is a lot, but I'll be honest, because of personal matters, some health stuff with my family, my wedding, birthdays, holidays, I feel like I've missed a little bit more than I usually do. So that is something to take note of as well. Two, this is probably the year since I've had my channel that I feel the least confident in my top 10. And as people know, with time, I definitely move some things around. But I do think I have a good mix of movies. Some indie ones, some bigger ones, some mainstream ones, some not, and some just reflect my personal taste, some of which y'all are gonna have a problem with probably. And if you wanna see my full rank list from 1 through 148, you can go to my Letterboxd, link is in the description, or my handles right here. And for some of these titles, I do have longer reviews up on my channel for, or at least a YouTube short for some of them. So if you really want more in-depth than what I'm talking about, you can check it out there. But let's go through some honorable mentions in no particular order. I'm gonna blast through like all of these here. Okay, The Room Next Door, I thought it was pretty good. I really don't know what people are talking about. I saw The TV Glow, awesome movie. I wish I could have seen it again before making this video, but here we go. Nickel Boys, absolute achievement. I'll have to see how it sits with me. DD, for obvious reasons, I saw a lot in myself. The Apprentice, somehow this movie actually worked on me. The Substance, this shit is crazy. Saturday Night, I don't know guys, I enjoyed it. The Seed of the Sacred Fig, now that is what bravery looks like. Red Rooms, an absolute fucked up movie, it's awesome. Juror number 2, I'm absolutely in the bag for courtroom drama dad movies. No Other Land, the best documentary this year. Conclave, a rewatch definitely helped, I liked it. Furiosa, shit goes crazy. Kinds of Kindness, please leave me alone. Bad Boys Ride or Die, this shit is hilarious, I would not apologize for it. The Wild Robot goes hard, I don't care. Long Legs, sorry the marketing got to you, but it worked for me. Monkey Man, Dev Patel. Gladiator 2, shut up, I don't care. Inside Out 2, I'm still crying. Sing Sing, amazing. Snack Shack, probably the most underrated this year. And actually my hardest cut, Hitman. Are they looking for a third? All right, time for the top 10. The First Omen. Listen, I actually saw this in theaters and I liked it. The second time I saw it was at home with a little bit more people, and it rocked my world. I don't really know how that's possible for my first watch to be in the theater and the second watch to be at home, and I liked it more, but it happened. I just appreciated so much more about this movie the second time. Incredible imagery, amazing performances, genuinely fucked up scenes by a technically Disney movie. I highly recommend it, or at the very least, I highly recommend giving it another shot. I realize I'm higher on this movie than most, but I think it's genuinely fantastic. I can't wait to see what she does next. Heretic. I realize I'm putting 2 decently reviewed horror movies in my top 10, but I'm about that life. This is another movie where a rewatch just really connected the dots for me. I think the first 2 acts of this movie are so captivating, it nearly warrants a spot higher. The third act kind of stumbles, but I still really like the takeaway overall, because at the end of the day, like I always say, enjoyment matters. And this movie is so purely entertaining that I have to put it on here. Plus, it has a Hugh Grant performance that, frankly, is one of my favorite performances of the year. And this is also my wife's, like, one of her favorite movies this year. La Chimera. What a beautiful film. Genuinely, like, what a beautiful film. I wish I could have seen this in theaters. I found myself emotional during multiple moments during this movie where it's not explicitly trying to make you cry, and I think that's like the biggest testament to the success of this movie. There's such an incredible line between like the fun of a, treasure hunt with people and also the reflection and what one has lost. I really find myself loving it the more it sits with me, and honestly, on a rewatch, maybe it'll go up. I just love the aesthetic of it, and Josh O'Connor fits so perfectly in here. It feels like it was made in a time decades ago, and it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Baby Girl. Shout out to the comment that said, "You are Baby Girl to me." I thought that was funny. I think this is a much more layered movie than I think people are giving it credit for. I know it's being branded, and obviously it definitely is more on the erotic side, but I think people are a little too hung up on that side of the movie. Like a lot of other movies, I think the more this movie has sat with me, the more I actually like it. The performances are spectacular from everybody in the cast, especially Nicole Kidman. And this movie moves with such a force, like it has such an amazing energy to it. And considering some of the scenes, it is directed with zero hesitation. It is a supremely confidently directed movie. I understand that this movie was not for everyone, but it was for me. Challengers. This movie is so good that when cheated, I got so mad. I was so mad that I actually had to like take a breath like after the movie ended. And I was like, okay, like chill. That's how you know this movie has your balls in the palm of its hand. I'm gonna be honest, I did not think this movie would make my top 10, but as the year has gone on, Challengers has absolutely stayed with me more than so many of these movies. I think it's one of the best directed movies. I think it's one of the most well shot movies, most well edited. The score is one of my favorites of the year, and Josh O'Connor, off the back of La Chimera on this one, gives my favorite supporting performance of the year. I don't need to talk about Challengers that much. You've definitely seen it. It's great. A Different Man. This is another movie that I'm kind of surprised is in my top 5. I really did not expect to like this movie as much as I did, but watching the movie, I felt every emotion. I was so drawn to the Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson characters. I found myself completely invested. I think it plays the dark comedy and drama genres perfectly. And when it takes a turn in the third act, it didn't lose me at all. In fact, I think it makes sense for the movie. Sebastian Stan has been on an absolute heater, and this is my favorite of the 2 movies. He is excellent. This is another movie that I'm not surprised if it doesn't work for you, but again, I thought it was completely riveting. Nosferatu. Well, as I said in my full video, yeah, I succumbed. This is one of the best directed movies of the year. Every aspect of this movie is just the best. I can't say I have a big attachment to Nosferatu or a Dracula. I'm not that kind of guy. Like most people, my introduction to Nosferatu was SpongeBob, and I'm glad I have this movie as an addition to that. I think the performances all around are amazing. The aesthetic, like every Robert Eggers movie, is just top tier. This is one of those movies that genuinely, from the opening studio logo, I had to lock in, and I'm glad I did because it gave me one of the best movies of the year. The Brutalist. This is where my list turns a little bit basic, but like I like to say, it's basic for a reason. How could I not be invested in the sheer scale of this story? A 3.5-hour epic that spans decades with an intermission. We do not get movies like this a lot nowadays, and I'm glad this one exists. I can't believe this movie was made on the budget it's on, and I can't believe some of the performances. Adrian Brody should win the Oscar. I don't care. And I know it sounds crazy, but I do recommend a rewatch of this movie. I realize that's like 7 hours of your time. I think it's worth it. The perfect embodiment of the American dream and the immigrant experience. Yeah, this is a top 3 movie of the year for me. Now, 1 and 2 have been the hardest I have ever debated in my head, and ultimately, as of now, this is where I landed. Anora. The first time I watched it after TIFF, my video says Anora is nearly perfect, and after watching it a second time, I just think the movie's perfect. I'm sorry. This movie has everything I want. When it's funny, it's one of the funniest movies of the year. When it's serious, it's one of the most tense and drama, tension-filled movies of the year. And when it goes for the heart, it lands 100%. Performances from legitimately everyone are amazing. Mikey Madison is my personal best actress winner. I just think she is fantastic. I've never been more enamored by a person bursting on the screen than her in a while. And it goes to show that as I'm talking about this now, I'm wondering, did I make a mistake and should this be number 1? But oh well, I'll reckon with that in the editing room, because that means that my number 1 movie of the year is Dune Part 2. Is this a boring pick? Possibly, but I do not care. Ultimately, what it came down to was the last 40 minutes of Dune Part 2 is just the most goosebumps-filled movie of the year. The hairs on your arm stand up as I was in that IMAX theater watching what was unfolding in front of me. And I have never been someone that says, let's wait for time to pass to see how a movie holds up. I know when I'm watching something that will go down as a classic, and Dune Part 1 I think is very good. Dune Part 2 so far absolutely will go down as one of those Titanic type movies. And I'm not talking about the literal Titanic movie. So as you can see, it looks so beautiful. These are my top 10 movies of the year. A bit odd. As I mentioned, I'm sure with time I will change it up. But for now, this is what I land on. As I've said so many times before, I legitimately can't wait for the new year. I'm so excited. I'm so ready to move on from this. Let me know what are your favorite movies of the year down in the comments. I'd love to know. And I hope you all have a happy new year. Bye.